Or do you think the younger generation in Russia, who doesn't know about that past history, at least living it firsthand, that they're going to see the reduction in their quality of life and actually stand up and say something?
Yeah.
And will that be enough to generate a lot of voice within the country?
Yeah, that's a good question, and the answer is not known. Both for the younger generation, I'm talking about people, say, 25 and over, and the older generation, though, what they also saw was that the 1990s were very chaotic. But from 2000 to 2008, Vladimir Putin got lucky. The price of oil went up. And also in his early years, he was actually pretty good on economic reform. So from 2000 to 2008, the Russian economy grew on average 5 to 7% a year. So people saw their standard of living really increase. They got nicer apartments, bought cars, they could afford to travel, go to Turkey, Greece, southern France. And that's now closed. First of all, you can't fly from Russia to any Western country except for Turkey. You're beginning to see the impact of the sanctions reduce the economy. So people are going to see, I think, a more difficult lifestyle. They're going to see some into economic pain coming. And so you have the combination of that, but also a stream of dead Russian soldiers coming home. And it's interesting, the last time the Russian Ministry of Defense gave a number, this is the number of Russian soldiers have died in Ukraine, was I think 3.5 months ago. They don't report that. But in lots of small towns around Russian military bases, there are lots of burials taking place. And so I do wonder the impact of the economic pain and the flow of casualties. Does that begin to change the public mood? It's interesting because Putin over the last 20 years has built a pretty autocratic system. But one of its novelties is the Kremlin pays a lot of attention to public attitudes. And if the mood begins to shift, would that cause a change of policy course in the Kremlin? But it's hard to predict. But there's some things. It was interesting. There was a poll that came out, and my guess is probably now still a majority of the Russian population supports the war. Or the special military operation in part because, but I think it's probably not as high as some of the simple polls suggest. So one poll said 75% support. Now, if you're in Russia, you get a call on the phone and saying, I'm a polling agency, got a couple of questions, do you support President Putin's war in Russia? And you don't know who's on that line.
Yeah, that's true.
The default mode is there's probably a certain reason to say, of course. But it was interesting, there was a poll done about 3 months ago that was a bit more sophisticated. And what they did, they took two groups of Russians, and they polled them, I think it was by phone. But one of them said, here are 3 things. Should government, and it was like, should government provide a higher pension? Should government provide a certain minimum wage? 3 things that you would want, right?
Right.
And they would ask people, how many other things on that list do you support? Without naming which ones. People said, well, all 3. Then they did another list which had those 3 things, and then their 4th thing saying, do you support the war in Ukraine? And how many of those things do you support without having to identify which one? Both said 3. So the more sophisticated polls, I think it came out and concluded that there was still majority support, but it was like 51%. It wasn't 75%.
Gotcha.
And again, as the economic pain comes home and as Russians begin to understand this is a direct result of the war their country is conducting in their name against Ukraine, and as they begin to see more of their sons and their brothers and their husbands come home either killed or maimed, does that begin to undermine support and change that? And that's an unknown at this point.